Hello, this is Anthony Fasano, Executive Director for the New York State Society of Professional Engineers. I'm here once again with our Legislative Counsel, Mark Chris. And in this video, we want to try to clear up some of the gray area around design build in New York State and when it's permitted. I know we had a lot of questions on that, so Mark, why don't you take it away on this one?
I'll be happy to. This is a topic we've dealt with quite extensively before, particularly in the context of the budget, where there is little question that where the state legislature has spoken on the issue in terms of agencies. There's 5 agencies that are authorized to do design build projects. They have to have a certain threshold size, and they have to meet certain essentially quality assurance safeguards.
Yep.
to use this methodology. But then there's a whole question that was engendered by a lawsuit that the State Society took a major role in. As a matter of fact, we filed an amicus friend of the court brief on the side of protecting the engineering community and protecting the public. Unfortunately, it was a 4-3 decision, and bad facts make bad law, and it's given birth to a whole bunch of design build in New York, particularly in the private sector, which, not that it's illegal. Clearly, even without that case, design build could have been legal in New York, and everybody would concede that design build, if done via a 3-way contract, is unequivocally authorized. And that would basically be that the firms, the contracting party, the construction, the general contractor, the design firm, and the owner of the project sign the agreement as a 3-way agreement.
Yeah.
There are some people who take the position that you don't need 3 signatures, that if you have the owner and the general contractor representative of the team being the contractor and the design firm or firms, that is okay, provided that both the detailed scope of the design services and the amount of the fee that's going to be paid to the design firms is separately delineated, and that would be, in the view of many in the design in the general contracting community, that would be adequate.
Right, and just to make this very clear, because we get questions a lot about what is a 3-way contract, as opposed to having the general contractor have a contract with the engineer, and then the general contractor having a contract with the owner, right? Now you're having all 3 parties on one contract where everything is spelled out, correct?
Correct.
Because
Yes.
I think that's one of those. That's another scenario that's not a good scenario that we have talked about in the past, which the 3-way contract tries to avoid.
Exactly, and the difficulty here is, as I said, there's a divergence of views as to whether that contract that spells things out has to have all 3 signatures or not. The general contractor community takes the view that on the Charlevoix versus Weller and the cases that were in its wake, that you don't necessarily need all 3 signatures. State Ed differs with that, and consequently, I wanted to suggest that when an engineer, especially an employed engineer, is going to be looking to a new employer, simply ask for the certificate of authorization from that entity. So at least, even in the context, because we have the design build context, but we also have a straight context where just design services are being offered, and there's instances where the firm may not have the requisite certificate of authorization, and you don't want to put yourself in that posture as an employed engineer. So I would particularly in the special inspection area in New York City, we've been trying very arduously to address a problem there, that the law is vague. It's not vague in the sense of if you really do all your research, but just reading the New York City Code can lead you to questionable conclusions.
Sure, and it's always good practice as a practicing engineer, if you get involved with a company or get hired by a company, to check on the status of their...
Yeah, it's a simple document. It's
Right.
a certificate of authorization. Interestingly, I was on a call last week with a number of consulting firms, and they're seeing a lot of fraud in the insurance community with regard to insurance policies, where there's endorsements and declarations pages that are just being fraudulently represented as coverage,
Right.
and it's becoming a problem. So, but at the very least, getting the certificate of authorization, and you could check the website. That would be probably
Yeah.
the most foolproof way.
Yeah, I agree. So, design build in New York, in the public sector, there are 5 agencies that are permitted to do it under certain project with certain guidelines. And if they attempt to expand that, which they have in the past, which we oppose just because of the way it was written, and we thought it was a little bit too much for some of these agencies to take on, we will be monitoring that, and we will keep a close eye on that. And then on the private side, we talked about the 3-way contract does, according to the state education department's on board with that being
Absolutely.
legal if a 3-way contract is done. And Mark kind of went through that. So hopefully this clears it up. I know it's a gray area. I know we get a lot of questions on it. We've done videos. We have an FAQ on our website. If you have any questions on it, you can contact us through the website, and Mark and I can speak with you and try to walk you through it.
Absolutely. Thank you all.
Thank you.